And welcome back to Lakeside International Raceway, where shortly we'll be preparing for the Streets Sports Sedan Championship round. 6 laps the distance. This afternoon there's Laurie Attard, car number 70. We've got a full field, let me tell you that.
There's more of these than there were Geminis.
I think they've rebodied some of the Geminis. There's the cars just ready to come out onto the racetrack.
Peter Mitchell's loosely based Gemini. The only thing that you can relate to it to a Gemini, I guess, is the badge on the side somewhere. That's a 202 Holden powered machine, front suspension out of an open wheel type car and tubular rear chassis. All aluminium work in the middle, not much Gemini left at all. It's qualified quite well for this race.
The man who'll sit on pole today is Mark Trenoweth in the Jag. There's Tony Sigley, no relation to Ernie, starting in the top 10 from position number 7 in the fielding, car number 58. So quite a cross selection of cars to contest the Street Sports Sedan Championship round before a huge crowd here this afternoon at Lakeside International Raceway. And I think as a result of qualifying for the Touring Car Championship round, we're almost assured of seeing perhaps the race of the season.
I would think so, but what a shame it is for John Bauer. I mean, what a great gesture of his, though, to give up the car for Robbie Francevic, the series leader, so that he can continue to chase the title.
Well, I guess Francevic, of course, is the man who has held sway with the championship since the opening round at Sydney's Amaroo Park, but the fortunes of the Valvoline Volvo team have decidedly gone off the boil in the last few rounds. And in fact, where Francevic has been playing Joe Cool, not qualifying all that well. Maybe they wanted Bauer to be the qualifier and Francevic to be the points earner. So that hasn't really worked out all that well for Robbie, and he's got a very slender lead going into today's race. Let's take a look at the grid now for the Street Sports Sedan Championship race.
And on the front row, Mark Trenoweth in the Jaguar. He'll share the front row with Desi Wall in the big V8 Tirana. The second row of the grid, Bill Attard and John Vernon in their RX-7 Mazda-powered entries. The third row of the grid, Laurie Attard and Peter Mitchell. The fourth row of the grid, Tony Sigley and Charlie Sinise. The fifth row of the grid is Bruce Smith and Vic Cameron. And the sixth row of the grid, covering our top 12, Russell Horton and Gary Whitaker. And then, as Mike suggested before, the biggest entry here on the program this weekend, another 12 or 13 odd cars, plus about another 7 or 8 reserves if they could get a start in this field. 35, in fact, were entered and only 25 can start. Gives you some idea of the popularity of sports sedans here at the moment. One fellow who's having a little bit of strife this weekend is John Vernon. He's qualified in a time of 58.1 seconds in a car that looks like an Escort but is powered by a Mazda 13B rotary peripheral port engine, should I say. But he's got a little problem at the moment with a bearing in the engine, and spoke to me just prior to the event and said that with fingers crossed things should go all right for him. And he's looking forward to putting in a good performance and just hopes that it can glue together for the 6 laps.
Probably won't have any bearing on the outcome of the race, I'd say now.
Oh, okay. There it is on the left-hand side of screen. QBE insurance entry. Very nicely turned out little Ford Escort in it.
That's where my premiums go.
Its body shell.
Never kidder, Crompton. There's car 70 going through. Laurie Attard. Well, at this stage, Mark Trenoweth in the Colorbond Jag certainly has the wood on the rest of the field, judging by qualifying times yesterday. 55.3 to a 56.4.
Desi Wall in second spot on the grid with a 56.4. And he's driving the car that was formerly run, of course, some years ago by the Holden dealer team. Driven a number of times by Ron Harrop, I think, from memory, and also Colin Bond. 5-litre Repco V8 engine and a very nicely turned out beast. Pat Welsh, these sports sedans here in Queensland seem to have a big following. These big V8s are an awesome sight around the Lakeside circuit.
They certainly are. Tight, twisting 2.4 kilometres, and there's going to be plenty of action. As you said, we've got a bigger field lined up for this one than the Gemini. Something like 35 wanted to get on the grid, only allowing the maximum of 25. It's the same size field as we saw for the Geminis, only these are a little bigger and a little more powerful, so it could be fun and games out there.
The screen's ablaze with colours and names and cars and wheels and all sorts of things at the moment. Trenoweth in a V12 Jag, Wall in a V8 Tirana, Attard, Vernon, both in rotary-powered machines. Peter Mitchell in a 202 Holden. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful machines out there at the moment. You can certainly tell those screaming rotaries.
Yes, they have that very distinct sound about them. There's Wall, and of course Mark Trenoweth in car number 8 is your pole man in the Colorbond Jaguar, and Bill Attard sitting right behind them. There's Trenoweth. Did extremely well last year in the Open Sport Sedan races for the Camelco Wonderlic Series at Sydney's Amaroo Park, which of course we visit next weekend with our 7 Sports cameras. Probably the home of sports sedans in Australia. We're preparing for the start for this afternoon's Streets Sports Sedan Championship round here at Lakeside. Not too far away from the start.
10 seconds away, in fact, from the start of this 6-lapper. Field poised, ready to go.
Flag is up, down, they're racing. Getting off the line very quickly was Mark Trenoweth. Absolutely barnstorm. Snag there with the Jag. Got away very quickly indeed. 27 also getting away quickly is Peter Mitchell as they go down to Albion Volvo Carousel for the first time. And I think it's not going to be long before we see Mark Trenoweth give the field a slip. Yes, sirree. Des Wall still in second spot. Attard is in third as they make their way down towards the Dunlop Bridge.
Great start from Trenoweth in the big Jag. He's really been the boss of sports sedan racing in Australia for about 12 months. Des Wall, though, closing up very quickly under brakes as they come down towards the left-hander at Hungary Corner. Attard in the Mazda RX-7 is up into third spot. We'll see him a lot at Sydney's Amaroo Park. Fairly healthy gap from second to third, and even better back to fourth is Peter Mitchell in the Gemini. He's being attacked by a Ford Capri. John Vernon there in the QBE insurance entry, dropping back a little through the field, unfortunately with those engine problems.
Well, as Mike said, that seemed to be the only chance that the field could keep up with Trenoweth. If they could try and jump on him at the start, they certainly didn't. He jumped right on top of them and he's dashed away already, although Wall is clinging to him in this opening lap and a half. But already, as you can see, they've opened up a pretty good gap over Attard, Vernon and the other 23 chasers.
Catching Trenoweth is one thing. Getting past that Jag on this circuit is quite another.
Yes, it's been very, very difficult indeed. They come through Valvoline turn, working their way to the top of Motorcraft Hill. As close as Wall normally gets, he drops off in the power stakes along the front straight. It closes up just a little on the run up to the top of the hill. Out of the bend, and once again across the line.
Wall had a few problems last weekend at Oran Park in the sports sedan race out there. He qualified poorly on the Saturday and had to run from the back of the grid, but did manage to pick up a fourth on the Sunday in the actual race itself. And they've been working on the car throughout the week to get it back in tip-top condition, and it's going quite well. In fact, I think he's having one of his better runs today because he's not too far behind Trenoweth. Gee, this car's done some kilometres around Australian racing circuits.
Neil, speaking of passing, one man who's going to know all about having to pass this afternoon is Robbie Francevic in the Volvo. And he lines up on the back of the touring car grid.
Yes, that's a daunting prospect, having to try and drive through an entire field. Robbie's pretty tenacious. We'll see how that goes very shortly in our 7 Sports telecast of round 8 of the Australian Touring Car Championship. But at the moment, it's sports sedan action.
Across the strike, it's still Trenoweth halfway in this race, still leading from Des Wall in car number 36. And of course, Bill Attard just going through there in car number 11. They've cleared out well and truly from the rest of the field, despite the enormous starting lineup of over 25 cars.
And the very well-known name of Australia's Formula One world champion Alan Jones holding the lap record here in a Porsche 930 for 53.1 seconds. It's some 2.2 seconds quicker than the time which Mark Trenoweth qualified in and as we said, he was well and truly faster than Des Wall. So the time of Alan Jones probably will stand at this Lakeside track for a long, long time to come.
I would think so.
Yeah, I think the track might have been in a little bit better condition when that record was set.
Could have been.
That was 4 years ago in 1982.
Pat's got all his notes. He's done all the work. Alan Jones, in fact, talking of Alan, 13th on the grid this weekend in Canada in the Haas-Lola for the Canadian Grand Prix.
So once again through the Albion Volvo carousel, they come out of the bend, and the Jag pace setter has still got Des Wall behind him. He hasn't been able to clear out well and truly from Wall, despite there being almost 9/10 of a second difference in their qualifying times yesterday. And Wall makes up the ground again through here, so I think Mark might be having a problem or two.
I guess one of the big problems that he's got getting into a corner like that is just the sheer weight of this car and the size of this car. You have to pull it up just a little earlier. Desi Wall's Tirana weighs in at about 1,040 kilograms. That's about average for a middleweight Australian Touring Car Championship contesting car, and the last lap board is out now. You may just see it there on the left-hand side of the screen. So Mark Trenoweth in car 8 in the Lyshart Colorbond entry with a little less than 2.4 kilometres to run before the checkered flag comes out, and unless he makes a really big mistake, he'll take victory in this streets round of the Queensland Sports Sedan Championship.
Des Wall still running in the second spot in the Batemans of Bankstown entry. Attard is third. Those positions unchanged almost since the opening lap. To Hungary corner for the final time, and it seems that once again Wall closes up as he makes his way to the top of the hill, come over the top and drop down into the foot. Gee, I tell you what, they are a little close, and they've got lap traffic in amongst them.
No, I don't think there's going to be time, though, for Wall to get by. No, there's not, because they straighten up now. The checkered flag is in sight for Mark Trenoweth. It's a familiar sight for him in the big Jag, and he takes the flag. Wall on his bumper, finishing in second place. Good effort by the top two cars, and a fair distance. There we go, third place just going across the line, and that is Bill Attard. So they've come home the way they left the grid. The pole sitter, Mark Trenoweth, claiming victory. And there it is, official. Trenoweth in first place, Des Wall second, Bill Attard third in the Streets Queensland Sports Sedan Championship round. Big effort. Well, right now, here's Mike Raymond.